MT Epsilon scenario writing, Kraylor chasers. In this video, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that the player ships that don't have FTL drives get a warp drive. So that's what this section does in setPlayer. The other thing we're going to do is to add a table to keep track of some chasers. Chasers just means that they have a warp drive. And we're going to default the chaser delay time to 10 seconds. Ultimately, that'll be 10 minutes. In the constructEnvironment function, we are going to make sure that the flagship gets stuck in a variable called flagship so that we can send a message from it a little later. All right, let's close those up and let's go look at the bugThePlayer function. In there, I feel like we need to check to be sure that the enemy station still exists before we spawn more enemies. So we'll check to see if the enemy station is valid, and if so, we'll do the code that's already there. We're going to do the very same thing in the next function we're going to create, which is essentially a clone of bugThePlayer with some tweaks, because it's not going to be the same thing, because we're going to be spawning chasers to go after the player. So I wrote this earlier. We're just going to run through it really quickly. The first thing in there is going to be to maintain the list of chasers. So we'll check to see if they're nil or invalid, and if they are, that we're moving from the list. If the list is clean and we run out of chasers, or we're starting and it's the first time in, the first thing we do is going to set the chase time, which is going to be the current time plus the delay time, which, as you remember, it start off as 10 seconds, and then a random value between 1 and 3 seconds. Ultimately, that's going to be between 1 and 60 seconds for up to a minute different. If the timer has expired, we're going to change our delay from 10 minutes to 5 minutes, or in this case from 10 seconds to 5 seconds, and we'll reset the timer to nil. That list of templates are the list of enemies that we are going to choose from. We'll set an angle, initialize it to 0, set the chase count to be 1 to 3 of these chasers to go after the players. The total chasers is that times the number of players. Set our increment for a nice circle around the station. We'll go through all the players and then go through all the ships, and then we'll calculate the coordinates, which is what we're doing here. We will create an enemy ship. We will position it at the coordinates. We'll set the heading based on the angle, and we'll order it to attack the player. We're going to increment the angle so that we get the nice circle, and we're putting these ships in the chaser list and the enemy ships list. Now, the other thing we're going to do for each player is we're going to send them a message. If the ship is far enough away, we'll say, hey, we just noticed that there are some fast-moving Kraylor ships that just got launched. Essentially, watch out. The last thing we'll do is update our statistics list with the current total chasers. Finally, we need to call this function from within the update. So we'll add this line that says enemy chasers. Now, the idea behind this is, after doing some testing, it seems like it's just a little too easy. So I wanted to add some quick-moving ships to go hunt down the players. In our test, we're going to create 3 player ships and then start the scenario. And remember, our delay time is 10 seconds plus 1 to 3 seconds. So if you watch the clock, boom, there we have our new 3 ships. Let's take the players and spread them out so you can see that those 3 enemies are going after the ships separately based on the lines that connect them, that show you the path that they're going to take to get to the target that they're going after. All right, so let's delete these as if we shot them down. And our delay is 5 seconds plus 1 to 3 seconds. So we just have to wait a little bit and we'll see the next set, and there you have the next set. Now, this time it's 3 groups of 2, so you can see there's a pair of them going after each player, and it's randomly selected as to who gets what. So there's a stalker Q7, there's a strike, there's another stalker Q7. So now we have a whole bunch of enemies going after the player on a periodic basis, making the scenario a bit more challenging.